That was little Rachel on her first day of kindergarten. And to anybody who would ask, I would say that I wanted to be a marine biologist, die hard. I loved whales. I would talk to anybody about whales, anybody who would listen. And then later it developed into sharks. But I was stone cold set on the fact until I was about 14 that I wanted to go into marine biology. I couldn't tell you where this obsession came from, but I knew that when I went to school, that's exactly what I wanted to study. And there was never a moment of, is that really what I want, until I actually got to applying to college. My dad sat me down and he asked me, is this really what you want to do for the rest of your life? Are you set on it? Are you really into biology like that? And then I started to have some doubts. I think we all experience this sometimes. And going to a university like Cal Poly, where you have to declare your major upon application, that can be difficult. And this is where GEs come into play. Here, you still have the possibility to be able to change your major. It's a little harder, but we still have the opportunity to take GE courses, and these things can help us experience maybe and find what we're a little bit more passionate about. Now I'm an aerospace major and I couldn't be happier. And this is because in high school I got to take physics courses that were like general ed things that you need to graduate, and this applies to the same kind of thing in college. I know a lot of my roommates have taken courses more along the lines of English when they were applying into the College of Engineering, and this actually changed their mind and they wanted to go into the College of Liberal Arts. General education has a lot of other benefits as well, and there have been a lot of debate recently brought up by students and faculty both about the necessity of general education courses in college. And you can think about that in a place like here, where we're in our major. Do we really need to take these extraneous courses as well? And I believe that this is essential to part of us becoming well-rounded adults in the world. And we have to see that these GE classes, they really do a lot of benefit for us, but getting down into the nitty-gritty, there are a lot of them, and they can get a bit excessive with the amount of time that we actually spend with them. So let's go into what GE classes actually are. A general ed class can range from things like psychology to English to comms, and to other things like chemistry or other math classes. Here, I love this class. I don't know about you guys, but getting up here and being able to share my opinions and my thoughts with all of you is a really cool experience, and I get to be more comfortable sharing with crowds, and I think I've got to watch all of you grow. And that's been a super cool experience for me, and I've gained a lot from it. Like I said, GEs are an experience where we get to see other things and maybe test the waters on different subjects. Things like management, chemistry, engineering, business. There's so many different sides of this spectrum of what we could want to study, and it's hard to know when you're 18 years old exactly what you want to do for the rest of your life. So I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to test the waters and find out what I'm really interested in. In a study by Ronald Thompson in 2014, in an article titled Development and Assessment of the Effectiveness of Undergraduate Education, this study specifically talked about foreign language being a part of a GE requirement, so it's funny that we talk about that today. But specifically with this foreign language, this university decided that they wanted to start an exchange program. And along with this, they wanted to prepare their students to be able to speak the language of where they were going to. And so they started up these foreign language classes, and then people decided that they also wanted to take it who weren't going to be foreign exchange students. And then they kind of started to see a bit of a shift in those students and noticed that they were becoming more worldly and they were just more culturally aware, and they were getting a lot of benefits from taking these language classes and outside of just being able to speak it. So this started to make like the cogs turn, and they were thinking, well, maybe there's more to it than we think. Maybe it's more than just being able to speak a second language. There are also different levels of general education types. There's the foreign language, there's, like I mentioned before, there's science and math classes. And in a study by Devin Warner in 2009 entitled General Education Requirements, he broke down general education into different tiers, and also within that, different tiers of universities. And this study featured a ton of different data tables, and he kind of like assigned numbers to these different tier universities, assigning Ivy League, let's say a tier 4, a school like here just below that level, a tier 3, all the way down to community college, which he labeled a tier 1. And then he also assigned those numbers to the different difficulty levels of the GE classes within them. And basically, it's all a bunch of mumbo-jumbo, but it basically broke down to state that students were happier with general education courses when they had more of an opportunity to make choices for themselves. And a lot of the friction that arises with students that don't appreciate GE courses is because they lose their ability of choice. We chose our majors, so we should choose what we get to study. I don't want to have to take a math class when I'm an English major because I chose English. Why should I have to do this? So it actually showed a lot of benefit to students who, they did have GE requirements at these top tier schools, but they had options within them. It wasn't like you have to fulfill this English requirement with this one course, English 149, and you all have to take it. They had options. They got to do Latino studies or things like that, different waves of these GE courses, and they really appreciated having this. And so these numbers in the data table showed how happy and how much they would recommend these courses to another student. Now, going into the counterparts of these, like I said, the friction between students and faculty, there's a lot of problems with the amount of time that we spend on these GE courses. So like I said, I'm an aerospace major, so I took my flowchart and I broke it down by how many units I have to take, and a little over 21% of these is GE courses. So I will spend almost 1 year equivalent studying just GE courses. Like I said, I really appreciate classes like comms, and I do learn a lot from these kind of things. But a lot of people have a viewpoint saying, is this really necessary? Because if you look at that pie chart, that's a lot of my time and a lot of my money that's going towards these GE courses that aren't going to directly go into my major. So seeing data like this, you can understand why there are friction from some faculty and some students. Larry Grove in 1997, in an article called Coherence and Assessment in the GE Program, ran a study where there was a core program at Farley Dickinson University, and this core program were the students who had a major where they had to take GE courses. For these GE courses, it was things like we have to take here. It was very normal GE courses, but then there were some majors who didn't have to take it. So the students looking in, who weren't in the program, they had no interest in it, and they thought that the students inside the program weren't having any benefit towards it. But the students actually inside the program said they were gaining a lot from it. They were becoming, like I said, more worldly with the foreign language, and they were actually becoming more well-rounded adults. So being able to see that, that's an interesting factor, that the people who weren't in the program had more of a negative view than the people actually in it. In an article by M. Garit in 2006 entitled Engineering Faculty Attitudes Towards General Chemistry, this is a specific study of an engineering department faculty members saying that the general chemistry course that they offered at their university was not important to their courses. Chemistry goes a little bit hand in hand for different engineering courses, and I think it's all important for all of us to see it. But they really saw that the students were wasting their time with these units, and that they weren't gaining enough from wasting their time on these chemistry classes. I believe that we gain more than we lose on that time in these classes like comms and English. I'm learning so much about how to become a good public speaker and relating well to people and having good speaking and written points, and all of these things are very important to me. In an article written by S. Swice in 1990 from City University of New York, they were saying a lot of their students were graduating not ready for the real world. They weren't possessing these things like global awareness, written and oral communication, critical thinking skills, and problem-solving skills, and that's what these courses all teach us. If I'm an engineering major and I sit in my engineering classes all day, I'm not going to gain these skills from anybody. So these are what's helping me become more well-rounded and know these other things that I need and are completely beneficial to me in being successful in the job. Now I have to cut out a few of my data articles to share with you guys. I'd love to share more, but I have to continue on with my points to be able to share with you what you can do to make a difference if you agree with the fact that GEs are completely vital to us, although some of them can be a bit time-consuming when they aren't necessary. Like I showed you guys, I will spend almost an entire year's worth of my time here studying GEs, and that's a lot. So I believe that the best course of action to take here, if you agree with my point that GEs are completely necessary, but there can be too many of them at some point, and they can be a bit extraneous, taking different levels of chemistry and things like that, you can write letters to the CSU Education Board, or you can attend forums and things like that, because it is becoming a hot topic now and a lot of people have a lot to say about it. So sitting in and listening or just becoming more educated about the problem has a lot to do with it as well, if you don't want to go in and actually write letters to people to make that big of a statement. I really appreciate this class and all that it has to offer, and I really hope you see how much these things can bring to the table, even if other classes are a bit extraneous.